Oh, there we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just
There we
fine.
go. Now I can hear you. My speakers were off.
What was the one video? Fine, I'm just fine from Crash Course. Remember that?
Yeah,
So I'm fine. Hopefully you are as well.
I'm doing well. Yeah.
Thanks for taking time out of your super busy schedule. Can you see me? I don't think you can.
I can't see
Okay,
you.
let me enable the video. This is okay. I think
Perfect.
I'm in there now.
There you are.
Okay, thanks for taking
Hello.
time. Hey, thanks for taking time out of your super busy schedule to meet with me. I'm super excited about it. Um, Great to meet you, first and foremost. I feel like I know you. It's kind of one of those weird situations where it's like my sister is a flight attendant for Delta, so she sees all these famous people and she feels like she knows them and she approaches them and they're like, "Who's this crazy lady?" So I kind of
Yeah.
feel that way with you a little bit. I just want to tell you that you in the study hall composition and the crash course series through ASU has been a big part of the success of our English 101 class and my first fall of teaching it at Rio Salado College, sorry. Big part of the success. I just find that I can't remember the first time I discovered the video series, but I'm just so captivated by your enthusiasm and your engaging personality. And I just think that was a big part of the buy in for my students in my class. So thanks for doing that and creating that amazing product.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That's so good to hear. I did that project while I was a senior at ASU.
Right.
I went into it kind of being in this weird position between student and teacher.
Okay.
And it's really great to hear that students found that as like a way to connect.
No, it's
Yeah.
so cool. And so you've been a big part of the class, and you were also featured in a couple of exam questions at the end. And it's almost like a
Awesome.
little bit of a running joke that I'm always bringing up the name Yumna Samie, and we had the assignment, and everybody's just kind of rolling their eyes, but I kind of make it a playful thing. So I think it keeps things fun, and that's part of your personality. It seems like it's a little bit playful, so it all
Yeah.
connects on a rhetorical level, I might add as well.
Yeah.
Um, have you been replaced at Crash Course? I noticed there's a new video series with Dr.
Yeah,
Emily
so I haven't exactly
Zarka.
been replaced, but Crash
Okay.
Course kind of the way that it works is they have a whole bunch of different hosts so that they can connect with different people.
Right.
So I work now in like the intro to college stuff, so I do more shorts work than actual
Okay.
like video work.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're doing more of the behind the scenes work?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So since we're just now meeting and I'm kind of getting up to speed and we only know you or I only know you through Crash Course, kind of tell me what do you do now? So I know you got a background in
Yeah.
what communications and English. You went to ASU West,
Yeah.
I think. ASU
Yeah,
West.
so I was a double major in English and communication. I
Right.
worked in the public speaking lab at ASU for
Right.
several years.
Right.
That kind of led me towards Crash Course because
Mm-hmm.
I did my TED Talk, and
Yep.
then they kind of shared that along once they were working on the study hall project, and that was kind of what landed me in the lap of Crash Course. Kind of just worked out timing wise. Now I'm getting my master's in learning media and tech over at UMass, so
Oh,
University of
nice.
Massachusetts. Um,
In
yeah, and
person
I'm
or
working
on?
full time at the same time, and I write. So
Are
yeah,
you online with UMass or in person?
I was in person for the last semester just to start things off, but I'm moving online now
Okay.
because it's busy.
Yeah, right. So why UMass? I mean, I know it's a great university on the East Coast, but why UMass?
Because they had a program that I was interested in,
Right.
the learning media and tech.
Gotcha.
I can focus specifically in educational video, and as you can imagine, that's kind of my thing. So,
Yeah, that's exciting that you're able to build on that crash course experience. I mean, that's what it's all about in life, right? Just those opportunities present themselves and you just go with it and carve out a niche with that.
yeah, definitely.
That's in Amherst, Massachusetts.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah,
A little bit colder there than here, I take it.
definitely. I'm in Arizona right now,
Right.
so
I'm,
missing a lot of the snow, which I'm very happy about.
Yeah, I know my
Yeah.
kids are complaining about it being cold here, and I'm like, I mean, I've only been in one cold weather place, Seoul, Korea, but I grew up in the South, and I've lived in Texas, and I've spent almost more than half my life at this point in Arizona. So I'm used to it being hot. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's funny when people hear complain about a cold morning or a chilly morning, and it's like, you see what's going on in Buffalo right now?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was really weird coming back because I've been in Arizona since I was about 9.
Okay.
And so going over to Massachusetts and it being like 50 degrees and people being like, yeah, this is
I
shorts
know.
weather.
Balmy.
Very different.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So you come here? Was it South Africa, or where did you come from?
Yeah, so my family bounced around quite a bit, but I'm originally from South Africa,
Okay, neat.
and I was born in Chicago. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
finding freedom in food that tastes like home. We got a little bit of a glimpse of your background. How do you pronounce that food? Is it dal?
Yeah, that's dull. Yeah.
Dal. Okay. And I was excited to talk about opportunity and talk about how things just kind of paved the way for, an outcome. I just thought it was so cool how that was it a Christmas a holiday party that you had or some sort of
Yeah, yeah,
gathering where everybody was encouraged to kind of go potluck style and you brought the one dish and that
yeah,
introduced just this whole, line of questioning related to what that item was and how that related to you as an individual. And I just
yeah.
thought that was such a cool part of your story that resonated with my students as well.
Yeah, I'm glad. I think it's very interesting looking back on that time and looking back at my childhood because for a very long time I thought like being from South Africa and being so different from the typical American student was a weak point.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, no, it's definitely a strength and it's something that people can connect with and that's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
I actually introduced that theme in when we studied Frankenstein, the novel Frankenstein by Mary
Hmm.
Shelley, and I've actually done graduate work at ASU on that through my posthumanism course, where I find fault in the fact that the creature was trying to identify itself as a human and being rejected as such called him defaulter. I think he should have and we should just embrace the different diverse aspects of any individual person or entity, value that as a strength, not as a weakness. It's not like we're trying to find Plato's perfect form. We're trying to find our each unique attributes that we can find strength in and motivate others through.
Yeah, definitely. I
So,
think that's a big part of my journey too, because for a long time I thought like in order to be liked, you had to be this perfect
mm-hmm.
form. And
Yep.
I think you can really see that in like my TED Talk and my early working crash course even. You can see how stiff I am.
Okay.
And it's slowly becoming just like more myself and that
Yeah.
being yourself is cool. Yeah.
How much of that was sort of ad libbed? I mean, the kill your darlings, the famous kill your
Oh
darlings. I
yeah,
mean,
so we wrote that before, and then this and the "Kill Your Darlings" line that was all me on
oh,
the
that's
set.
sweet. I thought that.
Um,
I thought what I suspected.
yeah. So we took that take, and I remember doing it the first time, and then everyone in the room with me started bursting out laughing, and I was like, "Was that too much?" And they were like, "No,
Yep.
perfect. We're going on. That was good."
Yep.
Yeah,
And rhetorically, sometimes you will say, you'll just look at the camera and say, "Did I overdo it there? Was that too much?" I can't
yeah.
remember the exact examples, but you did that a couple of times. And still hoping you'll share with me your vegan birthday cake recipe that you're
Oh yeah.
that you're always bragging about. So yeah, so cool. And that's kind of part of my personality too. I'm not a teacher by trade. I have a very diverse and interesting background, and I entered into this realm of teaching out of academia, more or less. So it's a kind of an interesting perspective in which to kind of come from the professional world and academia into uh, a high school environment. By the way, again, my name is John Hill. I work for Heritage Academy in
Yeah.
Maricopa, Arizona, a small little, outpost here, Phoenix, suburban outpost of Phoenix.
Mhm.
You know, Pinal County, actually. We're not even in Maricopa County, which makes it interesting. But we have a nice little diverse community here, and I'm excited about what we're doing here with my charter school. And because I don't have to be certified as a teacher to teach at a charter school, so that's kind of exciting. So charter schools, by their very nature, have a lot of flexibility in terms of curriculum and design and implementation, including the teachers they hire. So luckily, I'm there, hopefully to add strength to it. But a lot of times, I feel like my students see me as kind of the non-teacher teacher. I'm kind of
Yeah.
like different in so many ways, and for me, that excites me, and I think that's good. And hopefully, they see that as well. But I'm just me, and at the end of the day, I'm not trying to be the model of the perfect teacher, whatever. I'm
Right.
just myself. The cool thing about it, and the reason everything you do and everything I've seen in the videos resonates with me, is my whole calling card is my passion and my enthusiasm and excitement. And I just feel that with every one of your videos, and it's genuine. And in my students, what I'm trying to cultivate in them as writers is voice and authenticity. So, are you familiar with Jessica Early, Dr. Jessica Early in the English
I am
department?
not.
Okay, she's one of the prominent professors that we have on main campus. She just released a book on genres, emerging genres, and she's done work with prominent genre experts like Bazerman, if you know that name, in the field of genre. And I shared some of my, I guess it would be called the capstone project with her that I
Hmm.
did,
Yeah.
that was related to the heart of the story and persuasive writing. And I was lucky enough to teach two sections of seventh grade because I just had a couple spillover classes they need filled, and I was able to do it last year. So I taught two sections of seventh grade last fall and spring. And I really, really had them buy into this notion of authenticity and voice in persuasive writing specifically. And it kind of ties into your very last video that you made with Crash Course, where you're focusing on purpose. I feel like if we can find and tap into the topics that my students, even at that young of an age, want to write about and are truly passionate about and are part of their identity, I think that voice and that authenticity that's so important with persuasive writing, that pathos, so to speak, is almost like built in. It's almost like baked into the system. And I think as far as ethos, they're going to come into that automatically because they're going to have the story or the connection and the personal. They're an expert in whatever it is they're talking about because it's part of their story. And Andrea Lunsford has the famous line: the best arguments in the world don't influence or persuade people. It's the best stories that do. So I feel
Hmm.
like what better story than your own story, kind of like yours in
Right.
your case, to project that authenticity and ultimately that persuasion in writing. Now, my problem is, and this is where we are in my class right now, we're entering into the realm in 102, English 102, of pure academic based writing. And we're actually going to lead off with your video. We've watched 12 of your 16 Crash Course videos. We skipped the ones, I think 7, 8, and 9, which were about citation, quotation, argumentation. We skipped those in 101 because I was more focused on rhetoric, genre, and medium.
Hmm.
Um, they had a blast with McLuhan, by the way. They thought I was just, they didn't know. I gave them the article on McLuhan, or the excerpt from his book from 1966, and they were wondering what in the heck this was all about. And then I showed them your video a week later, and they were like, okay, maybe this is relevant. So you gave me ethos, so thank you. But we're at the point right now where we're getting into just the hardcore academic writing. And I'm
Hmm.
trying to sort of wonder what's that gap and can we bridge that gap between what would be more like op ed type, persuasive, real world writing that Jessica talks about in her work versus just strictly academic based writing that's considered more objective. But like you said, presentation versus persuasion. What's the difference and what's your opinion on that?
I think it's a really deep mix.
Okay.
So, I did a persuasive storytelling competition in my junior year of college. I ended up winning.
Oh, nice.
And it was on should social media um, have censorship, basically, around things like self-harm and those sorts of things. And I approaching this, I have a background of debate. So I kind of went into it thinking, like, okay, it has to be this strict formal thing.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of working with the debate coach, I ended up working with the storytelling coach at
Oh,
ASU.
nice. Yes.
And she told me to, like, just calm down. You have to calm down if you want to be able to persuade the people. And I think with academic writing, a lot of the ideas that you want are these highfalutin ideas that make a lot of sense to a small group of
Yeah.
people. But if you really want to present them in a way that makes the most sense, you have to calm down on those things. You can include a citation on a sentence that isn't extremely formal and
Right.
still make it really important and impactful. And I think it's like making sure that your language is succinct and making sure that you're being tactful with the vocabulary that you're choosing that are in academic writing that also influence persuasiveness, but it also shows that passion.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm worried about academic writing becoming less relevant,
Yes.
more so than ever before. Not only because I
Hmm.
see academia itself, unfortunately and sadly, becoming less relevant and kind of
Yeah.
going down a path of self destruction to a certain degree by not embracing some of these new ideas. There's so many avenues now. I see fewer people, looking to get a PhD or an advanced degree.
Hmm.
They realize that they can just create a blog and publish it
Hmm.
at their fingertips is the world. And obviously, it wasn't that case 20 years ago or even 10 years ago for the most part, and certainly not 30 or more years ago.
Right.
So this whole notion of academics writing for academics and they're working up in a journal that's on a dusty bookshelf in the basement of Hayden or wherever is kind of losing its hold. So
Hmm.
I'm I'm troubled by the fact, and I created my own blog post about this, and maybe I'll share it with you to the extent you have time to maybe even look at it.
Yeah.
Um, I'm concerned about the fact that from about seventh grade on, we kind of funnel students toward basically the type of writing that they'll do as a master's thesis or dissertation. And
Hmm.
that kind of troubles me that I've got seventh grade classes that are focused on MLA format, like
Hmm.
strictly speaking MLA format. And I'm thinking, well, why is this necessarily important? I mean, I get why it's important. And I think structure and format and following, expectations, that's also part of writing an audience
Right.
and all of those factors as well. But I think the purpose of that is being lost when we talk about the rhetor, the writer or speaker, audience, topic, purpose. I think the purpose
Hmm.
part of that is losing its hold because fewer and fewer people. There were already, it's already like 0.02% or whatever end up going to onto the PhD level as it is.
Hmm.
But now that number seems to be even further reduced
Right.
or has shrunk even further. And there's just so many more avenues to reach people that I'd rather focus, even on a college level class, even in a 102 class. I kind of want to resist this whole academic writing for publishing and this type of thing and make it more real world.
Yeah. The way that we did that in my public speaking classes was we did an assignment where you had to give the same speech to five different
Right?
groups of people.
Nice.
You just pretended to be them,
Right?
like a kindergartner, a middle schooler, a high schooler,
Yeah.
someone on the same level as you academically, and then someone who is above you academically. And you really have to change the way that you were talking through each of them. And it allowed you to break into that academic space while also being like, here's what I mean at the base
Yeah.
level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So we did do the Yumma Meets TED assignment. I was even proud of the name, Yumma Meets TED, the TED Talk where they took your Finding Freedom in Food That Tastes Like Home
Yeah.
essay. Where was that originally published, by the way?
That was originally published on the Obvi website.
Right.
So that's a writing platform that I work with frequently.
And it
Yeah.
seems like that's for mostly for females or
Yes,
women.
it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just did a Google search and I found that, and then we ended up using it in my class. And then my students had the option of either creating a TED Talk script on that or any other previous writing that they had done that they're passionate about. Of course, I got to be
Hmm.
consistent. I want them to write what they want to write about and be passionate about it. But I was at that point in
Right.
the semester, everybody's kind of burned down, and I wanted to kind of give them an easy out, saying, "Hey,
Yeah.
it's already here. If you want to just take what we learned about rhetoric and turn it into a TED Talk script, go for it." Um, so I did at one point want you to be a part of that. That time is
Yeah.
kind of past. Now we could still do something with that. I could maybe narrow down the top pick, or at least in my estimation, the top one from each class, because I had three classes, and maybe have a virtual call where I bring those students on and we can just
Yeah.
talk about it and talk. And since you've actually done a TED Talk, maybe you can kind of, advise them on that and maybe
Yeah.
even read maybe even one of the selections as you would a TED
Yeah.
Talk or maybe a recording of it or some point. Is that something you'd be interested or willing to do?
Yeah, that would be awesome. I would definitely be interested in giving feedback. Reading other people's work is always an
Yeah,
interesting field,
no, yeah, and that
but
goes to the authenticity, right?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but I would be interested more in hearing them read it and
Okay, yeah,
getting that
yep,
like perspective on it, that authenticity.
yep. And on
Yeah.
our essentially the this I believe essay that I call the
Hmm.
reflection me essay, I ended up tweaking it a little bit. It wasn't a traditional this I believe essay like we talked about like way back in September when I first reached out to you. It ended up being what I call a reflection me essay, which they found
Hmm.
three core value traits that most resonated with them. Like we do in English 101 and 102 with everything, they had to back it up with evidence. It couldn't just be, hey,
Yeah.
this was what I think about myself. They had to interview and talk to people, parents, teachers, friends, and see what those people saw as their traits and see if they aligned and matched. And once they came up with those three, they wrote their personal essay. And then I had them read it because
Hmm.
I felt like it truly expressed it. You can truly express the emotion and the passion and the rhetoric behind it if you read it and hear yourself read it. Plus, that's also an important, as you know, part of the editing process. If you're
Yes.
reading your work, you can catch things, awkward sentences and whatnot.
Oh yeah.
Um, we're kind of doing it right now, but I also would be interested in maybe creating not a scripted video or anything close to Crash Course, but just kind of like an informal thing like we're doing right now, where we talk about maybe
Yeah.
one or more of the issues from Crash Course that are pertinent to my class or my students. Like
Yeah.
maybe have them come up with a list of issues or questions that they might have for you. And
Yeah, I was thinking we could do, even if you wanted to, if this is possible, I could do a virtual call with your class and just kind of be there in front of all of them
that
and
would
they
be
can ask
cool.
their questions.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm sure that's technology still sometimes can be a little bit of an issue for me,
Yes.
but if there's a way I could get you on the screen and maybe have them all have their Chromebooks out or whatever, that would be an
Yeah.
option. So let's see if we can figure that out. Or if you being the learning and media person, if you've got some.
Yeah. I can definitely help with that. I'm in town until February 4th.
Okay,
So if this assignment is going to wrap up before then, or if you'd like me to come into class before then, I can do that as well.
that'd be cool. Yep.
I'm in Peoria, so it might
Okay.
be a bit of a drive, but
Yeah. Okay.
good.
Maybe I could,
Yeah.
worst case, reimburse your gas or figure something out. But yeah, that would
Yeah,
be
sure.
super cool if you could walk through that door. I know some jaws would drop.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Oh, they were talking
Yeah.
about how you change your hairstyle at one point. I didn't even notice, but around like video set 7, 8, you change locations and
Yeah.
you change
So
your hairstyle. And one girl in the front row was like, she changed her hairstyle, and they already started. They were having a conversation about it.
they'll be shocked when it changed
I know,
again.
right?
But yeah, basically what happened is we filmed the first half in January before the pandemic started.
Oh,
And we
okay.
were planning on going back to,
This is 2020.
yeah,
Wow.
January 2020. And
Okay.
then March 2020 was when we were going back to film again for the second half.
Right.
And as you can imagine,
Yep.
didn't work out exactly. So, yeah.
Wow. And where were the locations, by the way? Is that ASU West?
The first location was in Missoula, Montana, because that's where
Really?
Crash Course is
Oh,
located.
wow. They like flew you
Yeah, I
out
got
there?
to fly out. Yeah.
Is that like in
Um,
the middle of nowhere, or is that near St. Louis, or?
it's near, it's up north, so it's near, what is it? It's near Washington. It's near the border of Washington. But yeah, it's pretty much the middle
Oh,
of
sorry,
nowhere. It's a small
Montana.
mountain
Yeah.
town.
Thought you
No
said
worries.
Missouri. Yeah, Missoula. I was thinking
Yeah.
Missouri. Yeah, Missoula, Montana.
No.
Yeah, that's way out in the middle of nowhere. Anything in
Yeah.
Montana is out in the middle of nowhere.
So it was really
Cool
cool because I got
experience.
to like travel
Yeah,
there, like meet all of these people, see the Crash Course offices,
that's cool.
awesome things.
Yeah, that's
Um,
neat.
and then the second one was filmed on the Tempe campus in the writing building. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I almost felt
yeah,
like I recognized that second location, or it felt like home to me. The first
yeah.
one, not so much, but the second one almost looked like one of those stately old buildings
Yep.
from.
I don't remember what it's called, but the Virginia G. Piper Writing
Yep,
House.
that's
That's
what I
what it is.
thought. Yeah, that's what I
Yep.
thought. I had
Yeah.
it pegged as that spot. I couldn't even remember the name of it, but yeah, and I know the Virginia Piper Center does a lot of great talks. They host a
Yes.
lot of great um, um, speaking engagements with as it relates to writing. They have a lot of great
Yeah.
speakers come on, and I love the work they do through that institute as it relates to writing.
Yeah, it was really funny because I went to one of those talks as a freshman
Oh,
in
okay,
at ASU, and I remember being like, I love this house and it's so cool, and I took a picture in front of it,
yeah.
and then I walked in to film that went in my senior year, and I was just like, wow, such a big leap. Would not have
I
expected this
know.
to be
I
the
don't know
way it
what I'll
turned.
have to go back and look at the video. I don't know what it was about that setting that convinced me that it was that location. Something about the windows, or maybe I could almost see
Yeah.
outside of them, or I could just the color or
Mhm.
something. But that's like one of the oldest buildings on campus, right?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
It wasn't originally called that when I was an undergrad in the mid 90s and 95 when I originally graduated as an undergrad from ASU. It wasn't called that.
Oh, really?
By the way, I also have a background in linguistics, which
Oh,
I think
awesome.
is different and cool. I mean, I'm excited about it, and I'm excited just to walk into the building every day as a linguist and just bring a different perspective to the English language, which is more discourse based and deep dive on semantics and what I
Yes.
call like the engineers of language, or what linguists are. And I'm just think that it brings a different perspective that I hope they value. I personally think it's valuable, but hopefully my students see
Definitely.
that
I
as well.
love linguistics.
Yeah.
Linguistics is like definitely one of the fields I was
Yeah, and I'm
considering as
just
I
so
like,
excited. I mean, I always just, you see how I just kind of light up just even mentioning the word. I mean, I could talk your ear off about linguistics. Probably it's good that we didn't meet for coffee because you might have never gotten out of there. I would
right?
have just gotten on a topic. And I'm the guy that always, the teacher, the colleague that always corners somebody at the water cooler, and people walk past us like, what are they going on about today? And it's just like constantly like excited about some aspect of some article I was reading. I shared the McLuhan article with like 3 or 4 different people in different departments, including the
Yeah.
art department, the film department, because there were aspects if the medium is the message from that chapter in the book that speaks
Hmm.
to film and even art. So
Yeah.
if you ever look at that, or if you've ever had a chance to look at McLuhan's work,
Yeah.
it transmissionary model of communication.
Yes, I love it. Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, I think we've transmitted fairly well here in this medium. You know, sometimes I had my doubts, but hey, it's I'm getting used to it. So, but I'll leave you with that. Again, thanks for meeting me today, and then we'll
Yeah, of course.
continue to stay in touch with some of the things that we've talked about. Again, we just started our first day of English 102 this week. We had a half week at my school.
Oh, exciting.
So we'll be getting into the nitty gritty from next week and getting into at least a couple more of your videos, I'm sure. You know,
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll be excited to see you make an appearance in 102. And,
Yeah.
you know,
Definitely let me know if we can get that meetup scheduled before the 4th. I would love to come in and
February
just
4th. And that's going
surprise
to come
them. Yeah.
fast. We're already inside of a
Yes.
month. Are you going back to
Hmm.
UMass at that point?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's really cool is watching the videos. There's never a moment where I'm like, not so sure about that, or I disagree with that. I don't know if we're cut from the same ASU cloth or if it's just part of that. But I really feel like, again, same wavelength. English
Yes.
101 can be taught 100 different ways. And I've searched all
Hmm.
the syllabi and even my own experience in taking the class, many years ago. I know it can be taught 100 different ways. But I feel like our way is a direct
Yes.
connection and very much in alignment. And that's one of the reasons I featured your videos
I'm
because it
glad. Thank
really,
you.
really
Yeah.
supported what I was already teaching and what I believe in. So
Yeah.
thank you for meeting me, and
Yeah.
I'll follow up on all that. I'll
Great.
continue to be in touch with you and have a great rest of your day and weekend.
Yeah, you too. All right. Bye.
Bye.